The Tennessee Volunteers take Game 2 in thrilling fashion, forcing a winner-take-all. Game 3 tomorrow night in the College World Series Finals. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie, guys. Go to mybookie.ag, promo code SECU to get your special welcome offer today. Your first deposit match of up to $1,000. Our friends MyBookie are official partners of our trip and of our college baseball coverage and our trip to Omaha, Nebraska with the College World Series. Again, our friends MyBookie, mybookie.ag, promo code SECU to get your special welcome offer today. Do you like drama? Because if you do, you're in the right place. What a game. What a win for Tennessee. Backs against the wall. Elimination game. And the Volunteers find a way to scratch out a 4-1 win and force a winner-take-all ball game tomorrow night at Charles Schwab Field in Omaha, Nebraska. Guys, I mean, where to begin? Let's start with the pitching side of things first for Tennessee. That's where you really need to get this going, because obviously the big swings late in the game in the 7th and 8th inning, those were the difference makers for Tennessee. But we talked about coming into this one that the pitching advantage swung to the Tennessee side. And I think you saw the reason that a lot of us felt that way, and you saw how that played out. Drew Beam had his A-plus stuff. He was fantastic for Tennessee. You saw guys like Combs, Connell, and Nate Snead come out of the bullpen. They were great for the Volunteers as well. I mean, Combs, guys, that breaking ball is one of the best I've seen in college baseball. Nate Snead closing it out. Again, guys, the bullpen pitches 5+ innings of shutout baseball in this game. And again, Drew Beam was really, really good for Tennessee as well. Gives up just the 3 hits, just the 1 earned run on the home run. Had 7 strikeouts in his outing. But you wondered, is the offense going to get going, right? I thought Texas A&M turning to Chris Cortez early. He was fantastic, guys. He's up there throwing 101 miles an hour, 19, 20 inches of break. The slider the other way, 15, 16 inches of break at 89 miles an hour. I mean, it's big league stuff coming out of bullpen. Chris Cortez, 4 1/3, 2 hits, no runs, no earned. But I just kept thinking, guys, like, hey, at some point, he can't go the rest of the game. You brought him in so early, and I do wonder if Texas A&M is sitting there kicking themselves for not trying to get more out of their starter. Because, I mean, he had 1 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 Ks, was pretty solid, but they went to their guy in Cortez early. And I think Texas A&M was banking on the offense, scratching out a couple more runs and giving yourself, a 3 or 4 run lead. You could turn back to Aschenbeck. He goes back-to-back days, and then you can clinch the game and, of course, clinch the national championship. But Tennessee kept scratching, kept clawing, kept fighting. They had runners in scoring position all day long. Couldn't get the big hit. I was sitting there watching guys like Tennessee. They just cannot buy the big knock. And then the 7th inning happened. And the swing of Dylan Dreiling, the biggest swing in his collegiate career, I would venture to say, really puts the exclamation point on this ball game. 2-run shot to give Tennessee the 2-1 lead. Then how about Cal Stark, guys? How can you not be romantic about college baseball? Cal Stark, a guy that came into this at-bat 0 for 16 in Omaha. He was 0 for 16 in the College World Series. I saw a post from some Tennessee account on Instagram saying, bench Cal Stark, 0 for Omaha, 0 for 16. Tony Vitello trusts his guy, and he hits the 2-run bomb to give you the insurance you need. And, guys, I mean, you talk about drama. College baseball never disappoints. The College World Series, of course, never disappoints. How many of you thought that Ryan Targach ball was gone? How many of you thought that ball was out of here and Texas A&M had tied the game? I was one holding my breath watching that. I thought maybe A&M had done it. We were going to go to extra innings. But, guys, as we said all throughout the week, it always felt like this was going to be a series that was going to go to 3 games. It just made sense. Like, when you look at these teams, when you look at the makeups of both, the 2 best teams in college baseball virtually all season long, and it only felt right we would get a winner-take-all Game 3 tomorrow night. What a game. I mean, truly what a game. If you love pitching, you love defense, that's exactly what we got. I thought Christian Moore, guys, I thought one of the turning points this game, that walk that Christian Moore drew late. And listen, I know that Tennessee's not for everybody. I know a lot of folks don't like the antics. They don't like Tony Vitello coming out the dugout all fired up and yelling, and Christian Moore jawing off at God, my name, Chris Cortez, excuse me, just jawing off at Chris Cortez. I know some folks don't like that, but you know what? That level of intensity, when you have a guy like that, your leader, your catalyst there at the top of the lineup, that's something you love to see. I personally, I love to see it, guys. The passion, the electricity in college baseball. These guys are fighting for their lives. I mean, you got a guy in Christian Moore out there. He gets the walk late in the 7th inning, turns the dugout. He's firing them up, getting rearing to go. And then I thought what was really underrated, like you talk about a guy who wants to win. Christian Moore's out there tagging up on a fly ball from first base to center field. From center to center field. You talk about a guy that wants to win, is putting it all on the line. He's trying to get himself in scoring position. So Dylan Dreiling's got a shot to get him in. And of course, we know what Dreiling does there, hits the long ball, so it doesn't matter. But, this game, guys, again, we felt like the pitching matchup favored Tennessee because you burned your best starter in Ryan Prager. You all but burned Evan Oschenbeck to a point to where, they would have used him. I'm sure they would have gone back-to-back days with Oschenbeck if they really needed to or wanted to or what have you. But you saw Texas A&M have to get deeper in their bullpen. Wilson, Peary, Moss. We're talking about guys that have pitched very little all season long and certainly have not pitched in Omaha. And you just felt like at some point, Tennessee kept having chance after chance after chance, runners in scoring position. You felt like at some point that Tennessee was going to break through. And of course, it was Dreiling that did that in the 7th inning and then Cal Stark in the 8th inning. I mean, guys, it was a well-pitched game by both sides, really. The big swing of the bat, Wilson gives up 4 earned runs in his outing. He gets the loss in this one. But, I mean, outside of that, guys, it was a really well-pitched game on both sides. I mean, as someone that likes to see good pitching and great defense, I mean, you saw that, guys. Every time it seemed like Texas A&M needed to make a big pitch or make a big play or something happened, it seemed like they had it. And I was one sitting there like, okay, this is the team of destiny. Like Texas A&M, they're the team of destiny. They're more complete. They're not as reliant on the home run ball. And then you saw Tennessee wake up, right? I think a good sign for Texas A&M, guys, going into game 3, I will say this, good sign for Texas A&M. I thought you saw Jace Lavalette really arrive today. Did not have an RBI going in this game, guys. Did not have an RBI. He went 2 for 2 today, had the big home run, had 2 walks as well, looked really comfortable at the plate. It didn't look like he was very limited in regards to injury. He's been dealing with that hamstring. So I think that's good news. Again, going into game 3, you're going to need all hands on deck. You're going to need a guy like a Jace Lavalette to have a big swing. I thought Tennessee did a good job handling Caden Kent. Listen, Caden Kent is the guy you don't want to face right now. I mean, this dude is Mr. Omaha, and he goes 1 for 4. He had a couple big at-bats there late that he was not able to cash in. That was a huge piece of this game. Gavin Grahovic is held hitless. And for the most part, guys, I mean, really for the entirety of the game, outside of the Jace Lavalette home run, obviously, Tennessee's pitching staff was dominant. I mean, it was flat out dominant. Drew Beam, you got the best of him. Aaron Combs, I mean, I haven't got to see, honestly, guys, Aaron Combs pitch a ton this season. That breaking ball is disgusting. I mean, flat out. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Kirby Carnell only comes in, gives up 1 hit, does not record an out, but then Nate Snead comes in, cleans it up, and his stuff is electric. Guys, what was interesting, yesterday's game, I was sitting there thinking with the uptick in velocity in baseball, we're seeing a couple guys that are, barely breaking 90 miles an hour on the radar gun. Even Evan Oschenbeck's only touching about 90, 91. Today, we saw some big-time velocity. I think that's one of the reasons you saw the run total go down. We saw some huge velocity numbers. Guys that can run it up there 96, 97, 98. I mean, guys, Chris Cortez was bumping 100, 101 miles an hour. We saw big league stuff in this game today. And from the pitching perspective, guys, here's the thing. From the pitching perspective, now your attention turns to game 3. And what's the strategy for both these clubs? You got to think Texas A&M has to go with Justin Lampkin. Did not pitch in this game today, obviously. He was on short rest. He's still kind of on short rest, but you got to go with somebody. I think you got to go Justin Lampkin. Chris Cortez isn't available. So that's all of a sudden a very interesting wrinkle. Lampkin's got to give you a quality start. He's got to go at least, I think, 4 or 5 innings because Aschenbeck, he just threw, 55 pitches, 60 pitches a day ago? And again, Cortez threw 100. He's done. He's cooked. He's finished. So the pitching strategy for A&M going to be very interesting. And then Tennessee, you've got Xander Sechrist going. Kirby Connell can obviously go. That guy's got a rubber arm. I don't worry about him at all. You look at Nate Snead, who went an inning, only 15 pitches. So I would say 100% he can go. There ain't no way that guy's going to say no to the baseball when he threw 15 pitches. Combs threw 63. I don't know that. I doubt he's going to go. We've seen it before. We've seen guys like Brandon Neely and others who have the rubber arm do crazy things back-to-back days. And, I mean, listen, guys, the last game of the season, what do you have to lose, I guess? But I don't know that Combs will go. You've got Xander Sechrist on the bump. You got Connell. You've got Snead. You got a couple other guys in there, too, in the Tennessee bullpen that have pitched sparingly, like Marcus Phillips was one that was really good in yesterday's game, can bump the velo up there. So the pitching strategy, the cat and mouse game, going to be very, very fun to watch for sure. But, I think Tennessee and really both these sides, guys, neither one of these teams was really good runners in scoring position. I mean, neither one was great. Again, I think you attribute that a lot more to the pitching side of things, but this is one of those games, guys, when you win 4-1 versus lose 4-1. When you win 4-1, hey, was a great ball game, really well pitched. When you lose 4-1, terrible game. We couldn't swing it. We couldn't drive runners in. And, I mean, I'm sure that's how Texas A&M feels, and I don't blame them. I mean, Texas A&M had every chance to, add to the lead. And guys, it felt like to me, I was thinking to myself, man, if A&M gets up 2-3-0, this ball game feels like it's over because they're going to go from Cortez to Aschenbeck. And I think, guys, the only reason you don't go to Aschenbeck in that ball game is because you're sitting there thinking, okay, if we lose, we got to have somebody that can go tomorrow because Texas A&M is short on arms. Like we mentioned, game 1 played in their hands really, really well with the trio of Prager, Aschenbeck, and Cortez. Didn't have to use Cortez. Using today, again, in my personal opinion, I think they went to him early. I would have tried to stretch the starter out a little bit, get a little more out of him, because the thing was, again, Cortez can only do so long. His season high pitch count was 84. You get him to 99, but guys, you had to pull him at some point. Then you got to turn to a couple guys in the back end. And the last 3, Tennessee's going to be dialed in, locked in, doing everything they can to scratch across runs. And I think they paid for it. And it's just, again, you're only going to hold down a good lineup so long. You're only going to hold down this Tennessee lineup for so long. And you knew they were going to bust out eventually. They've lived and died by the home run all year. And I don't mean that to say they only hit home runs, but that's been their calling card. They need a big swing of the bat. They hit a bomb. And Dylan Dreiling, who I feel like has been one of the most clutch players, I think one of the most underrated players on Tennessee's team, he comes up with that big swing. One of the biggest swings in Tennessee baseball history, I'd venture to say. Cal Stark, I mean, again, guys, you can't script it. Guys 0 for 16. 0 for 16 in the College World Series. It comes up, hits a bomb late to extend the lead. And again, I thought Tennessee, it's very underrated, but I thought they played great defense as well today. Drew Beam had a big pickoff. Tennessee with a big back pick. I've talked about before, they're one of the best in college baseball at doing that. Pretty clean game defensively after what we saw. And it was Texas A&M making the errors, right? Tennessee, they were a little sloppy in the field yesterday. You give these types of teams, whether it's Tennessee or A&M or anybody in the College World Series field, you give them extra outs, you're going to pay. I'm just flat out. You're going to pay for it. These teams are too good. It was Texas A&M kind of kicking the ball around today. Not a lot, but just enough, right? But the big swings by Dreiling, Starks, those are the difference makers. Extremely well-pitched game there by Tennessee, and now it sets up a winner-take-all game 3. A lot of you tuned in. Let's get into some of your comments here. Again, Tennessee gets the big win 4-1 over Texas A&M to force the winner-take-all game 3. Matt Beard says, Tony trusting 100% what got them here regardless of how it looks. Indeed, Matt Beard, Cortez mechanics improved as he fatigued. Let's see. He also says defensive catchers mean so much. He's controlled every pitcher beautifully. Yeah, I saw some folks commenting on this, and I think it's interesting. I guess some people were surprised, but I'm not surprised at all. I see Tony Vitello as much more. If he needs to make a change, he'll make a change, but he's going to trust his guys. Listen, I mean, Cal Stark's been your dude for a reason. I mean, Tony had the rant after, I believe it was the Super Regional against Evansville, when he says, Cal Stark's our guy. Cal Stark's our guy. It did not surprise me to see Tony Vitello stick by his guy, stick with Cal Stark. I mean, that's just what you do, man. It sends a bad message for those who don't realize, it sends a bad message, whether it's postseason, regular season. If, a guy goes 0 for 15 and you pull him, like, you got to stick with your guy. You believe in him or you don't, and it paid off for Tony Vitello. That was huge. Let's see. Big Orange says, go Big Orange. How's it hanging, fellas? Appreciate you for tuning in. Texas Sports Unfiltered. Y'all make sure to like the video. Yeah, we're live with Texas Sports Unfiltered Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Central, talking all things SEC. So check that out for sure. Those guys do a great job. And check out Texas Sports Unfiltered for all your Longhorns content. Adam Barnes, this team is tame and calm compared to 2022. It's a very good point, Adam Barnes. Again, I saw some people kind of pushing back, and they didn't like the fiery. Are you kidding me? Like, it is backs against the wall. Winner take all. People get upset about what Christian Moore's mouthing to Chris Cortez, and I won't repeat it here. Guys, that's sports, man. That's sports. Like, for those that are stunned by that, you'd be horrified by all the stuff you cannot hear on the field between players, between coaches, in dugout, between each other. Like, you'd be horrified. And I don't mean that it's just competitive, man. It's competitiveness. I'm sure those two guys have respect for each other, but I don't even know that Chris Cortez did anything. It's just Christian Moore. Dude, the competitive juices are flowing. Like, that is a dude that you want on your ball club. That's a guy you want at the top of your lineup. Tex K says A&M blew it. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee blasts the pitching and wins tomorrow. To say they blew it, again, Tex K, I would say this. To say they blew it, you're not giving enough credit to what Tennessee did on the bump, how good those guys were. I mean, I just think what you saw was the pitching step up to a different level. And one team had two big swings and one team didn't. One team had one big swing. Granted, it came with nobody on base, but Tennessee had the big swings. They needed two big swings. They got them when it mattered most. Just a great ball game. I think it was a great ball game, really played on both sides. I mean, the biggest complaint I think both coaches are going to have, runners in scoring position. You got to cash in. I mean, there were so many times Tennessee came up, because as good as Cortez was, he walked some guys, starter walked some guys. You had positions where you had runners in scoring position. You had guys on base, and you just couldn't get that big knock until Dylan Dreiling in that seventh inning. Tennessee Jr., what a game. Great pitching on both teams. 2 mistakes, and Tennessee capitalized. Game 3 will be freaking awesome. Listen, guys, selfishly, I'm ecstatic there's a Game 3. I didn't want the college baseball season to end just yet. I know Aggies out there are upset. Maybe you're upset at me for saying that, but I'm thrilled that we get a Game 3 tomorrow night. I really am. How about Will Eubanks with a $5 super chat? Thank you, Will. Appreciate it. As a Vol, let me get that right. As a Vol, my heart rate had to be at a worrying rate in the bottom of the 9th. Go Vols. Yeah, again, I thought when Ryan Targach hit that ball, guys, that ball was gone. I really did. I thought that ball was gone. I was like, oh, my goodness. To extras we go. The 12th man just did it for the Aggies. But would you expect a different finish, guys, in this College World Series with the dramatics, the drama's been insane. I tell you this, I can't imagine what Nate Snead's heart did when that ball left that bat, because you're thinking, oh my goodness, I just blew the game. Sure enough, it comes up just short. Our friends LSU Capital and X reigning champs for one more day. Yes, LSU reigning champs indeed. We'll take a couple more here, then get out of here. Lance says, even when I played high school ball, it gets mouthy and competitive out there. It's sports. Yeah, it's sports. It's sports. It's sports. I understand fans of one side aren't going to love the optics or the look of what Christian Moore did. But as someone that is an objective observer, an unbiased observer, I love it, man. Give me more intensity. Give me more drama. I absolutely love it. TJ Bird says, if you thought today was chippy, tomorrow is going to be even more so. Yeah, the intensity is going to be ratcheted up. And guys, you know what? I'm glad we have a night game finish. I just, the middle of the day game, it took a little bit away. I don't know. Either way, tomorrow night's going to be electric, guys. It's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. We will take one more if we've got one. Matt Beard, even the obvious not hit by pitch replay took too long. Clear enough. It needs to be fixed. Yeah, the replays were interesting. I was really surprised Tony V challenged that one, but it is what it is. All right, guys, that's going to do all for me. Hey, appreciate you all tuning in. Tennessee taking Game 2 by a final score of 4-1 in a drama-filled game. And now the Vols force a winner-take-all. Game 3. Tennessee, Texas A&M for all the marbles tomorrow night at Charles Schwab Field. Guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much for the comments, for the interaction, for the engagement, for the love support. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Until tomorrow night, after the final game of the College World Series, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. I am Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered, and we will talk to you all on the other side.